We're live.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking the time during your holiday weekend to join us for Compassionate Cooking with Pinki's Palate. My name is Jain, and I'm one of the YGA co-chairs this year. And we're super excited for this webinar today because it's going to truly showcase how easy it is to make Jain food. We're going to talk about how to shop and stock a Jain kitchen, be healthy at the same time, and really, show how easy it is. So we're very lucky to have with us today Priyanka Shah. Priyanka is a physician assistant student, a former YGA board member, and creator of the Jain food blog Pinki's Palate. So after realizing a lack of resources for easy, nutritious Jain recipes, she decided to create a platform to inspire others to live a healthy, compassionate lifestyle through a plant-based Jain diet. So growing up following a strict Jain diet, today she plans to show you how it's possible for anyone to create Jain recipes that are both nutritious and delicious. So let's get right to the food because we all love food, right? So with that, I'll turn over to Priyanka.
All right, thanks, Avish. Welcome, guys, to the first ever Pinki's Palate live webinar. I'm so excited to be sharing some new recipes with you guys, as well as just, talking about what the Jain diet is and how to follow it in today's day and age. So just a background on Pinki's Palate, I started this blog in college out of a need to find other options for food. We were on a meal plan with the dorms, and a lot of vegetarian options would contain eggs or would contain non-Jain products. And I grew up eating a strict Jain diet, which means vegetarian as well as no animal byproducts such as gelatin and no root vegetables. And the reason why Jains don't eat root vegetables is because the whole diet is based on nonviolence, and this means nonviolence in the form of animals, but also in the smallest forms of life, such as microorganisms. And root vegetables tend to have more microorganisms, which is why Jains tend to avoid them. And one thing that is tough today, though, is that these ingredients are often mixed into a lot of products we find or when we eat out. And so a lot of the time, cooking from scratch not only allows you to follow Jain diet, but it lets you know what you're putting into your food and creates a more health-conscious environment. And a lot of people ask me, if you can't eat, carrots or onions, what do you eat? And the response I have is there are so many options today. There are over 400 vegetables out there, and eliminating a few does not compromise taste. It doesn't have to compromise creativity. And in fact, I feel that having what we call restrictions is actually something that makes you more creative with the resources you have. So with that, I will be demonstrating some recipes for you guys today. And as a student myself, I realized the importance of having quick on-the-go recipes as well as things that are easy to make, not intimidating, and has simple ingredients where you don't have to go to Whole Foods and search down every aisle for that one rare ingredient. So before I start, though, I wanted to just kind of talk about what I stock my kitchen with. Right now I'm at home, so I'm in my mom's kitchen, but some of the essentials that I feel are really important to being able to cook at home are things like a powerful blender. Here I have a Vitamix, but you can also use things like a Ninja or a NutriBullet or Blendtec. Those are some good blenders out there. And these are really great because you can make pretty much anything from subji gravies to soups to smoothies and juices, salsa, which we'll be demonstrating today. And you can be as creative as you want with this. And the second thing that I really love to have in my kitchen is a food processor, because this allows you to make things like sauces, such as pesto or hummus, and energy bites, which we'll also be making today. And one other thing that I would highly recommend if you're following a plant-based diet is having a slow cooker, a pressure cooker, or something called an instant pot, which is all of those in one. And those will help you cook your legumes and your beans much more quickly and have them ready for your meals throughout the day. So that's kind of what I stock my kitchen with. And I think one of the things that I miss the most about being home is my mom's cooking, and that would be Indian food. So one of the kitchen hacks I've found for Indian food is these awesome packets. So This is from Bristol Magic, and it's no onion, no garlic spice mix for different types of Indian curries. So this one is paneer makhani, then we have vegetable puri and paneer tikka masala. And you can find these at your local Indian grocer or even online. And they make it so simple and so easy to make Indian food because all the spices are ready and mixed for you. All you have to do is blend up your tomatoes and your vegetables and add paneer if it's paneer curry and just let it simmer. And it's that easy. So that's one thing that I really love about Indian food. And of course you can cook Indian food from scratch too, but if you're a student or if you're living a busy life, this is really great for that. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to share was just like some of the things I do on a daily basis for on-the-go breakfast options. One of them is I love using mason jars, and I will put my greens and frozen fruits and bananas, nuts, and just freeze them in these jars. And then when I'm ready, I'll just grab some nut milk or hemp milk like I have right here and fill it to the top and then dump this entire thing in the blender, blend it, and then pour it back into this jar. And now I have a smoothie to go. And you can stock these jars up in your freezer, have different varieties, so you always have it ready and it's the right portion as well. And the next mason jar idea that I really like is having oats to go. I think in today's day we worry so much about protein intake and we tend to forget about fiber. In fact, on a normal plant-based diet, if you're eating enough calories, about 2,000 a day, 2,000, 2,500 at least, you will be getting enough protein for your daily requirement. And for somebody between 140 to 175 pounds, or 120 to 175 pounds, that can be between 40 to 50 grams of protein a day. And you can calculate that. A nutritionist can help you do that. I'm not a registered dietitian, but this is just out of my passion and interest in research in this. So if you want to know more about what your specific intake is, I would suggest consulting a dietitian. But as I was saying, one of the nutrients that we do forget about and lack highly in the American or Western diet is fiber. And fiber is really important for keeping you full throughout the day so that you're not snacking on unhealthy things between meals. So one thing that's really great is having whole grain oats. I really love the rolled oats. And you can get so creative with these jars. So for example, this oatmeal jar, I added some protein powder, thick rolled oats, chia seeds, hemp seeds, which have great omega-3 fatty acids, and some nuts. And then when I would be taking this out for the day, I might add some fresh fruit on top. And when I'm ready, I just heat up some water and put it in here and seal the jar and let it sit for a little bit. And you can also have these oats cold. So putting some nut milk in, letting it soak, kind of makes it more of a porridge pudding texture as well. And that's really great for the summer when you want something cool. And that will keep you full for a really long time. And even with the added protein powder, you'll be getting your protein intake that you might want to. So those are two really great on-the-go breakfast ideas. And there's some days that we really want to have, a full meal. So I know there's this big trend about having brunch these days. So one of the recipes I wanted to show you today was a recipe for Tofu Scramble, which you can also use as a filling for breakfast burritos. So why don't we get started on that? And if you guys have questions throughout any of this webinar, please shoot YJ an email and we'll get back to you, or we'll try and answer some questions at the end of this webinar as well. So to start with the tofu scramble, first you need a block of extra firm tofu. And all you're going to do is you're going to rinse it and drain it, and then just take the block in a colander and crumble it with your hands. So it'll look like this, and it's just kind of crumbled like this. And this is really great for a filling, savory breakfast. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to start the stove. And right. And so I'm having some technical difficulties. I'll have my assistant help me stir this. My brother is going to be my assistant during this. This is a new stove for me. I normally use a gas stove. All right, so I have some olive oil here, and I'm just going to heat it up in the pan. And while that's heating up, I'm going to add some chopped green chilies that I have right here. Usually 1 chili is enough if it's really spicy. You can also omit this if you want something that's not too spicy. And I'll just wait until that sizzles a little bit. And that's just going to make the oil a little bit more spicy too. So what I start with is just adding some tofu. And this is a convection stove, so it works super fast. Just gonna add a couple spoons of this tofu. So usually 1 block will make a good 2 to 3 servings if you want as a full meal, or about 4 servings if it's a side dish as well. So a little bit more. And then so you're gonna just let that saute a little bit. Until it's slightly browned. And in the meantime, we'll work on the spice mix. So here I have some turmeric, some cumin, some salt, and some chili powder too. So what I'll do is I'm just going to add some water to this and make it into a paste. And all of these recipes will be posted on my blog after this webinar, so don't worry about rushing to write things down. This is just a demonstration of how simple it is to make these things. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of water. I'm just gonna stir it all together. And while that's still cooking, we'll add some black beans, which adds even more protein to your dish and also makes it a little bit more nutritious, as eating too much soy isn't bad per se, but it is a processed food, so mixing in some natural proteins is also good. So we'll let that all cook. And of course, throughout this process, if there are any types of beans or vegetables that you don't like, you can always substitute it for something else. These recipes are very versatile, and even switching it up from time to time when you make them is totally an option. So the other ingredients that I like to add is some zucchini. So I have some chopped zucchini right here. Usually 1 small, medium size is good enough. And it's important to add your tougher vegetables first because those need to be cooked longer. And things like peppers will cook really fast, so you want to add those towards the end, otherwise they'll become too soggy and lose its crunchiness. And I also like to add some celery because that adds some crunch to it. Right, and so another great thing to add to the tofu scramble is some leafy greens. You can add kale, for example, which I have here, or whatever your favorite leafy green vegetable is. Kale is really great because it's high in vitamin K and a bunch of other vitamins. It's naturally a superfood and tastes really good once it's a little bit wilted and steamed. So we'll just add a little bit of that. Because kale is a little bit tougher too, I add that before I add the peppers. And now we can also add our spice paste. Just kind of mix everything around, make sure it's all evenly coated. And if you feel like it's too dry, you can always add a little bit of water in to the mix. So I'm just going to do that here. And that'll help cook things as well. So let that set. Another great thing to add is peppers. You can choose any color. I really like red peppers in a tofu scramble, especially roasted red peppers. You can get those jarred usually, or you can roast your own. And I have a recipe on how to roast red peppers on my blog, so you're welcome to check out. I'm just gonna add some peppers and also some fresh herbs. I really like adding cilantro, or you can add a mix of herbs. So here I have some parsley, thyme, and some other herbs. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of that. I think fresh herbs really make a big difference in taste, and they're so easy to even grow in your own garden or on your balcony. They're super easy to keep alive, which is really great. And they're always on hand that way, so I really like doing that as well. Okay, and now we'll add some lemon juice as well. This will help bring in all of the flavors together. So I'm adding about, I'd say, a tablespoon of lemon juice. Usually the juice of half a lemon, like half a small size lemon, is enough for a single serving. And so I'll just saute that a little bit more. If you guys want to take a peek, this is what it looks like right now. So, added that. I'm just gonna let that simmer a little bit. And one thing I really like eating tofu scramble with is some fresh salsa, and especially if you make it into a breakfast burrito. So I'll also be showing you how to do that, and in a simple, easy way in the blender, where it takes maybe like 5 minutes to make. So I'll let this simmer a little bit and get the salsa stuff prepped as well. So I'm going to be using the Vitamix here. I have a Vitamix 5200. There's so many different models, but they're all really great. If you're considering getting one, I highly recommend it. I'm not sponsored by Vitamix, although I wish I was. So here, I'm just going to pull it out. And so in this salsa, I'm just making a simple roasted corn and tomato salsa. So what I'm going to be utilizing is some Roma tomatoes. So I have about 4 Roma tomatoes that are halved here. So I'm just going to add those in. And I'm going to add some roasted corn. I got some frozen roasted corn at Trader Joe's, and it's really tasty. You can also use fresh corn that you take off the cob, or even just regular corn. This just adds a little bit of flavor. So I'm just going to add half of it because I don't want to crush all of it, and then have some so the sauce is a little bit chunky. I'm also going to add 1 green chili. You can use jalapeno, serrano pepper, whatever you please. And I'm going to add some chopped bell pepper. I have green bell pepper here. That also adds a little bit of crunch. And because we're not using onion, which is a common ingredient in salsa, I like to substitute it with celery, which actually gives it that same kind of texture that some people like, where it's a little bit crunchy. So I just have some chopped celery. And finally, cilantro. Now, I know there are some people who absolutely hate cilantro, but I love it, and it's really great in salsa. But if you don't like it, you can totally use some other herb like parsley, for example. And again, you can make this however you really like. This is just kind of the basic foundation for making a Jain salsa. I've tried some where I add mango to it. You can roast the tomatoes before putting it in. That adds a little bit more of a smoky flavor. So it's really up to you how you like to create your salsa. So I'm just going to give this a stir while we wait to. Okay. And the last ingredient that we're going to add to this salsa is some lemon juice. So I'm just going to grab some here. Again, this is about 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. You can, change it to taste. And we'll also add some salt in. I have some Himalayan pink salt, but you can really use any salt. And just adjust it to taste. I give it a few spins of this. So now it's ready, and all we have to do is blend it. And literally, that's all it takes to make salsa. And you can store it in the fridge, use it in any way that you like, and it's super tasty and probably healthier than getting the jarred salsa you get at the grocery store because it's free of preservatives and it's completely fresh. Turn this down a bit. All right. So this is gonna be a little bit loud, but I'm gonna blend up the salsa. If you want it more chunky, then keep it on a lower speed, but if you want it more pureed, then you can put it on a higher speed. And that's it. And you have your salsa. So now I'm just going to add the remainder of the corn. So it gives it a little bit of texture. And I'm going to just stir it around. And that's it. You have your fresh roasted corn and tomato salsa. And you can taste it, see if it's to your liking, or add more salt or lemon juice, whatever you please. But just to show you guys, you can see that's what it looks like. And so we'll serve this with our tofu scramble, which is pretty much done. At this point, I like to add some chopped cherry tomatoes. You don't have to because you have a salsa, but if you don't have a salsa, it adds a great flavor to the tofu scramble as well. So we'll just add those in. And that's it. It's really that simple. And you can use this as a filling with your breakfast burritos with adding some more leafy greens and avocado because that's always the best ingredient for any of us. So I really like adding sliced avocado on the side or in the burrito. So let's make this. Let's go with this one. So if you guys know my Instagram, I love plating things really nice and fancy, but really it's all about the taste. So if you're in a hurry, you can still make this and it looks fantastic. Look at this. Alright, so just put some in here. All right, so here we have. And so also on the side. And there you have your first breakfast meal. And I like adding different vegetables every time I make this. You can really be as creative as you want with any of this. So that is the Tofu Scramble. And I just kind of clean this up here. I'm going to next show you a midday snack that we can make pretty easily too. So let's put this away. All right. By the way, if anyone is in the Bay Area and wants some free food tonight, send me an email because there's going to be a lot of it. All right, so the next thing we're going to make are some energy bites. And if you've ever had a Lara bar, this is very similar to that. And they're so simple and easy to make at home. And that makes them cheaper than buying a lot of granola bars or Lara bars. And they're totally customizable. So you can use whatever superfoods that you like, from nuts and seeds and grains to dried berries like goji berries. Those are really high in antioxidants as well. And I think these are a really good snack for when you're just like reaching for that something sweet and you don't want to pick up some added sugar yogurt or some sort of chips or something unhealthy like that. These are really great for that. And you can make them ahead of time and just store them in the fridge as well. And if you like, you can even make them into granola bars by adding some more oats in proportion to the other ingredients. So I'm just going to pull out the food processor for this, which comes in really handy when you want to make these. So the first ingredient we're going to use is the superfood, because we want to blend everything into kind of like a flour texture so it holds all of the ingredients together. So I'm going to start with 1 cup of nuts. Here I have a mix of half almonds and half walnuts, which is really good. You can use any type of nut that you like. I'm also going to add some protein powder, because if you're trying to eat these after a workout or something, it might be helpful to eat it that way as well. So this is the Vega protein and greens protein mix, so I'm adding about a scoop of that. I'm also going to add about a tablespoon of chia seeds, and again, these are really great because you can add them to anything. I really like adding them to my salads. I also like just soaking them in some almond milk with natural sweetener like agave nectar and vanilla, and that will make chia pudding after a couple hours. It'll basically, the seeds hydrate, and it's a good snack to have as well. And I'm also going to add some hemp seeds right here. So this is about a tablespoon of hemp seeds, again, really high in omega-3s. And I'm going to add about a tablespoon of oats, which will help hold everything together too. So all these ingredients we're going to first blend into a flour-like texture, a little bit gritty, not totally fine, but enough to give you a little bit of crunch. So it's going to be a little loud. Really, this recipe only takes 5 to 10 minutes to make, and you'll have probably a good 10 to 15 bites that you can make out of this proportion of the recipe. I'm just going to give this a spin one more time. Now, if you have pre-made or pre-ground almond flour. That can work too, instead of using whole nuts. You can also, at this point in the process, you can create these into raw vegan coconut macaroons by adding a lot of shredded coconut and some coconut butter, and those are really great desserts to bring for a party or to give as a gift to somebody as well. And it's the same kind of process, but this time we're going to add some dates. So here I have medjool dates that I've already pitted, and I have about 1 cup of them, which is give or take about 8 to 10 dates. And dates are really great for energy. I think, you know, starting your day with a couple of dates is really beneficial to your health, as well as I really love adding some nut butter in the middle and eating it like that. I think that's really tasty too. So I'm just going to add these in. And I've only had these. You can chop them up a little bit if you want, but the food processor should take care of that. And so you're going to blend this until it's a little bit of a sticky dough that forms. And I'll show you that in a bit. Okay, I'm going to blend that over. So I'm just going to show you guys what this kind of looks like right now. So it's getting into a more doughy form. So this is kind of what the dough looks like, if you can see it. Almost like cookie dough, which this could be like raw cookie dough. You could just eat it straight like this. So I'm going to add some coconut. I have shredded unsweetened coconut that I got at Trader Joe's, and it's about ½ a cup that I'm going to be adding in. And I'm also going to add some coconut oil. So I'm adding about 1 tablespoon of coconut oil. You can also use coconut butter. You can use your favorite nut butter, like almond butter. You can also use tahini, which is a sesame seed paste. That's really tasty as well. So there's so many options you can do. For this recipe, I'm going to use this coconut oil. Just drop that in there. Right, so we're going to blend this one more time. And you don't really need to melt the coconut oil beforehand because the heat from the food processor will do that for you. Of course, you can if you want to, or if you live in a really warm area where it's already melted. All right, so that looks pretty good to me. Just so I can show you guys. This is what the dough looks like when it's all blended up. So now what you're going to do is just grab a plate. So we'll grab a plate. So you're just going to either press this into a pan and cut it into bars later, or you can just kind of, in your hand, make them into like little bite-sized rounds. Just kind of press it all together. If anyone's really good at making roti, just good practice. All right. So it's kind of what it looks like, you can see. And so what I like to do is either coat this in raw cacao powder, so you can just roll it in that, or even in sesame seeds, which is what I have right here. I have some black and white sesame seeds mixed. And just kind of dip it in there as if they're sprinkles. And then you have your coated energy bites. And what I do to make these set is I just put it on a plate with some saran wrap over it, and then just let it set in the fridge for a few hours, and it'll be a little bit hardened. And you just grab them on the go. And this is really great because you're not using any butter or unhealthy fats. We're using coconut oil in a moderate amount, or you can be using nut butters, which are really healthy and high in protein. And no added sugar, so this is completely natural. All the ingredients in here are whole ingredients, which means you're getting all of your amino acids from the proteins, and it's totally guilt-free, so you can eat as many of these as you want. Not really, but in theory. So I would just make more of those out of the remainder of the dough. I have a lot of dough here from just those few ingredients. I could probably make, I'd say, somewhere between 15 and 20 of these bites. And these are, again, a really great thing to take to potlucks, or if somebody asks you to bring a dessert for dinner, this is a good, healthy option to bring to. So that is the energy bite. And for time's sake, I'm not going to make the rest of them, but you guys get the idea. And all these recipes will be posted on my blog starting tomorrow throughout the week. So make sure you go to pinkispalate.com and hit subscribe. And you'll get an email notification every time that I post a recipe as well. So with that, I'm just going to prep for our last recipe, and Avisha is going to make some announcements while I do that. Right?
Yeah, thank you, Priyanka. So yeah, I just want to make a quick informational announcement that everyone should keep an eye out on our Snapchat tomorrow evening. It's at The Young Jains, as we will be releasing the 3 cities that are still in contention to host the 2018 YJ convention. So I'm not sure if everyone saw, but we did start out with 5 cities. We're down to 4 right now, and tomorrow evening we will narrow that list down to 3, with the hope that the official announcement for the actual, who is hosting convention will be coming out in the next couple weeks. I just want to say this webinar is super awesome so far. Priyanka's, doing a great job. I think what's super important to, realize is how easy it is to make these recipes, and anyone can do it, no matter, what you have at home. And all the ingredients are, very accessible. They're nothing, very, complex. And being, recently graduated from college, I think it's important to realize that, you can eat healthy no matter, whether you're in a dorm, whether you're in an apartment, and making these things for, one person is easily doable, and you don't have to have, 5 people or 6 people there to make it.
Yeah, thanks, Avish. That's totally true. And one thing that's really great is you can just buy like 10 different types of vegetables and make so many different dishes with it. And it all comes down to how you season or how you flavor things, as well as what kind of base you use. If you use a grain like quinoa, or rice, or if you use a tortilla and make a burrito. So they're very versatile. So this next recipe is kind of a twist on a South Indian dish called uttapam, which is normally a process done through blending lentils and rice and a fermentation process. But when we're on the go and we want something savory, but also kind of like a pancake style, I thought of making something using actually. So this is what I call, this is the first time I've been making this recipe, so you guys are getting the real deal here. But basically, this one is called, I call it just like masala pancakes. And this you can eat as a lunch item or a dinner item as well. And we'll be making some coconut chutney with it too. And I'll show you an easy way to make that, again, in the blender. So first I want to show you what pancake mix I'm using for this, which I think is really important. Because you don't want to get a pancake mix that is sweetened already, because that won't be savory and it might taste a little bit odd. So I got this at Costco, and it's called Kodiak Cakes. Power Cakes, and it's the protein pack buttermilk flapjack and waffle mix. And this is completely Jain. It has no eggs, and really the only ingredients in here are 100% whole grain wheat flour, 100% whole grain oat flour, and a protein blend, which they use different milk protein isolates. So it's not vegan, but you can find vegan pancake mixes and do this the same way. And so I've already pre-measured this out here. So I have just the flour that it comes with, and they say to make these, you just add a equal part of water. So I have 1 cup here, and I'm gonna add 1 cup of water. And we're making these savory, but you can also just make regular pancakes with this, like the picture that was posted on the YJ page today, with different fruit toppings, and turn it into a breakfast item as well. So I'm just going to slowly add some of the water and whisk it so it's smooth and get rid of all the bumps. You can also add yogurt if you want instead of water. That'll give it a more creamy texture and more of a sour taste that you would get with regular udapam dishes. So I'm going to get that into pretty runny texture. The thicker you keep it, the thicker your pancake portion will be, but you can also make them thinner if you want it more like a crepe style as well, or a dosa style. And so this is a pretty good consistency, I think. Kind of like a pudding consistency. So I'm going to now heat up this griddle. While that gets warmed, we'll make the coconut chutney. So I'm going to set this to, let's say, 350, which is about, you want to put it on a medium heat, not too hot, otherwise it'll burn. And if it's too low, it won't cook fully either. So I'm just going to let that sit for a little bit. And again, if you really like adding herbs and spices to your meals, you can even add some like dried oregano or parsley to the batter itself that cooks within it. I think that's really good. I'll be adding everything as toppings in this case, but you can put it in the batter as well. So for the coconut chutney, again, this is really all just done in the blender. So I've measured out about 1 cup of plain yogurt. You can use Greek yogurt, although I haven't really tried it with that. I'm using just like regular plain yogurt that you might find in any grocery store or even in your general markets. And you want to warm this in the microwave for about 30 seconds before putting it in here, and that'll help it blend better as well. So I've already warmed this up, so I'm going to go ahead and pour this into the blender. Okay. And then you can buy frozen shredded coconut, which is what I'm using here. Again, it's about 1 cup that I'm using, and I'm just going to add that in as well. And the next ingredient I'm going to add is some cilantro. And I'm adding maybe about a tablespoon or so of cilantro. Not too much, but enough to give it a little bit of flavor. Okay. And the last ingredient that you can add if you want it to be a little bit spicy is a chili. So I'm just going to chop this up real quick. So I'm going to add about half of it because the portion size that I'm making right now is good probably for a couple of people, and we don't want to make it too spicy. And again, if you remove the seeds from within your chili pepper, it'll bring down the heat as well. If you keep them in, it'll be nice and spicy. So I'm just going to roughly chop this. So I'm adding half of the chili in. And now all we do is blend it. So this on. And that's it. And you have your coconut chutney. It's that simple. It's literally 3 ingredients. And you can customize this as well. You can add mint if you like that. Mint leaves are really great in this chutney as well. And you can even use this as like a veggie dip. So if you're packing lunch and just have some veggie sticks like peppers or cucumbers, you can take this on the side and use it as a dip. You can also use it as a spread if you make it a little bit bigger on some toast in the morning. And really any way you would eat yogurt. You can eat it with some pita chips. There's so many uses for this. And you can even make a batch and then keep it in the fridge for the day and just eat it throughout the day. So that chutney is ready. And now we're going to start with the actual masala cakes. So I'm just going to put a little bit more water. And when you're doing this, you want to maybe add some coconut oil around the pancake so it gives it a little bit of a crispy edge. I'm going to be using olive oil today, but either work. So I'm just going to spray down this pan too. This is also a really handy thing to have if you want to be coating different surfaces. So you just fill the olive oil in the bottom and then pump it out. It's better than using something like ham or processed spray. This is just using regular olive oil. So I'm just going to use make a couple here. You can spread it out a little bit too if it's thick. If you make the batter thin, it'll spread out on its own. Right, so we're just going to let that cook, and I'm actually going to just sprinkle some olive oil around the edges. You can use coconut oil as well. We'll just let that cook there. So while that's cooking, what makes this savory is adding all the vegetables and something called spiced chutney powder. And you want to keep the vegetables on top, and you want the base to be thick. So you don't want it to be too thin. So while this is still wet and thick, I'm going to add some of the veggies. So I'm adding some purple cabbage, which is super healthy and tasty as well. Adds a lot of color to your dish too, which makes it really appealing as well. And so I'm just gonna add some of that. I'm gonna add some diced bell pepper. You can dice it as pretty small, I think would be best for this. So some yellow and red. Okay, and then I like to add some cilantro on this as well. I think it's really tasty with all the flavors of the veggies. Okay. And like I was saying, so the part that makes this savory is using something called spiced chutney powder. You can find this at local Indian grocers or online as well. And you can really use any type of spice mix that you like. If you like more of like a Mexican spice, Trader Joe's has this seasoning blend called chili lime, and this is all Jain as well. All it is sea salt, chili pepper, red bell pepper, lime juice powder, and citric acid. And you can even add tomatoes to this. We have a few cherry tomatoes, and might as well add those in as well. And if you guys can see this, it's super colorful and tasty looking. I'm just going to drizzle a little bit of olive oil on top too, in the center. And so I'll add the spiced chutney powder now before we flip it. So that'll stick in on that. Okay. So now I'm going to grab a spatula. So it looks like it's pretty golden on the bottom, so I'm just going to flip it. You don't want to fold it, or you can fold it if that's easier for you. It would be more of like an omelet style or a quesadilla style. So we can just go ahead and try flipping one, and I'll show you how the other one looks if it's folded. So this is the tricky part, so nothing goes flying off. All right. And then you just want to kind of press it down so everything sticks in. Oh, it smells so good. All right. I think the biggest difference is using this spiced chutney powder. I really love this one. The South Indian name for this is actually something called Chutney Pudi. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but again, this you can get at some Indian grocers. This one's actually imported from New Jersey. So again, it says suitable for vegetarians. Again, it's Jain and has all the spices you really need for this dish. So I'm going to try and fold the second one just to show you what that will look like. We'll just let that cook for a little bit longer. So 1 cup of that mix that I used made about 2 pretty big sized uttappams. Maybe you could serve 2 people or 1 person if you're really hungry. And the box at Costco actually comes with a lot. So if you do grab that, it'll be set for a while. And it's, again, it's versatile. You can make pancakes for breakfast, or you can make cakes for dinner. So just have this. In the meantime, I'm going to plate the coconut chutney that we're going to eat this with. You can also, instead of the chutney, you can make like a lentil soup or dal or sambar to go with it, which is a traditional accompaniment to dosa or uttappam in South Indian cuisine. So just grab a plate. All right, so I'm just going to pour this into here. We'll see what that looks like. If you want to get fancy, you can even just garnish it with some cilantro on top. And this is what it looks like. So we'll serve this. That's great. And so I'm just going to flip this so you can see the other side as well. This one that we flipped upside down, I'll show you what that looks like too. So that kind of comes out like this. And then you can fold it when you serve it, or you can serve it open like this. I think it looks really pretty like this. I also think if you top this off with some shredded unsweetened coconut, it looks really pretty. And so that's another option that you can do. I'm just gonna grab some, so you can see. All right, so this is organic unsweetened flaked coconut from Trader Joe's. You can use any shredded coconut as long as it doesn't have added sugar. And I'm just going to sprinkle that on top. And just like that, you have your dish. I know it's a little bit hard to see on the webcam. Let me bring this closer to you guys so we can go over everything that we made. And we made all of this in 1 hour. So it's super easy to make this, and we made 3 different dishes that you can utilize in so many different fashions. So here is the uttappam. As you can see, it's really colorful, and here's a coconut yogurt chutney that we made to dip and eat with this. So that's that meal. And so the first one we started out with was the Tofu Scramble, as you can see here. And there is the salsa with that, fresh salsa. And I love serving it with avocado, so don't forget that. And here is our energy bite. So take a closer look. And those are our 3 recipes for today. And again, remember you can make your on-the-go options as well in mason jars. And these are just a few different ideas that are kind of meant to kickstart your cooking journey and your creativity. Some, quick tips and ideas. For example, if you're making a big salad or a meal, you can make it simple by having your chopped veggies, your leafy greens, making a easy dressing in the blender, kind of like how we made the coconut chutney, with different bases like using mustard, using olive oil, balsamic, things like that, and make a fresh dressing. And using all your herbs that you grow in your garden are really great too. And you can add these types of nut packs that you can buy. This one is a heart healthy mix, and it contains cranberries, walnuts, almonds, pepitas, and Brazil nuts. So if you don't want to purchase each of these different types of nuts in bulk, you can just dump one of these packets into your salad to add a little bit of crunch and some protein and flavor. Another way, I know I talked a lot about superfoods, and I keep a bag of each different type, but if you want something that has a mix already, I found this at Trader Joe's yesterday, and it's a super seed and ancient grain blend. It's really tasty. It's got sprouted buckwheat, millet, chia seeds, flaxseed, red quinoa, hemp seed, and amaranth. So many superfoods all in one little pouch, and you can add this to your oatmeal, to your salads, to your pastas, really anything. And it's really high in fiber as well as omega fatty acids, so it keep you really full too. And as simple as that, cooking Jain or even cooking a plant-based diet while you're a student or living a busy life doesn't have to be tough. It's just a matter of being creative with the ingredients that you have. As you saw, we really only use this much stuff, so you can make so many different items using these basic ingredients. And of course, if you want to branch out and explore other ingredients, make kind of a quinoa bowl with different vegetables, that's totally an option too, and it doesn't take very long. So kickstarting your healthy diet starts with just being aware of what ingredients you have and learning the different ways to put it together and flavor. So adding different spices, making different marinades or rubs, using natural herbs can add a lot of kick to your dishes. And you won't even realize that it's necessarily a Jain dish because it's so high in flavor and nutrients. So that's just a little bit of an introduction. I hope that was helpful. I'm really, really glad for this opportunity to kind of meet with you guys, I guess, in person on one end, and just show you how simple and how quick it is to make these dishes. And I will be posting more recipes and how-tos and things like that on my new YouTube channel, which you can follow off my blog, as well as if you go to my blog, there's a tab called the Jain Kitchen, and you can see what kind of ingredients I like to stock my kitchen with, and different must-haves in your kitchen. I talked about a few, but that's that's about it. So thank you so much again. Thank you YJ and Avish for helping plan this out, and I look forward to hearing some of your questions.
Yeah, Priyanka, we actually had one question. So what kind of desserts do you try to make using a Jain diet? I think sometimes people think, okay, since if you think about if you make a vegan dish, there's some it's harder to do desserts that taste good, that look good. So I guess what suggestions do you have for that?
Yeah, so desserts are great. Like, eating healthy is one thing, but desserts not only have to be healthy, but you can make them Jain pretty easily by using egg substitutes wherever eggs are required. So for example, I really like using chia seeds or flax meal for an egg substitute. I think they work really well. You just mix 1 part of either of those with 3 parts of water in a bowl, and then that becomes your chia egg or flax egg that you use to substitute in cakes and breads and cookies, things like that. And it also provides a nutrient-dense substitution versus using some of those processed products that are out there. Also, there are so many different raw vegan recipes for desserts using a nut base. So on my blog, I have a recipe for a cashew cream tartlet, which is kind of like a vegan cheesecake per se, that's made with a cashew base and using whole foods like dates and nuts and seeds that are nutrient dense as well and taste really great. Other options for desserts, one that I really like is something called banana ice cream. Now, it doesn't taste like banana, so if you're anti-banana, it's not an overpowering banana taste, but if you have a high-speed blender like the Vitamix or a Ninja or Blendtec, what you can do is freeze ripe bananas and then just bananas, add it to your Vitamix or your blender, and just blend that alone. And in this one, you kind of use a plunger to push it down, and then it becomes more of like a gelato texture, and you can just put it in a Tupperware container, stick it in the freezer, and you have basically homemade ice cream. And you can add any flavorings to that you like, chocolate chips or vanilla, anything. So it's really versatile, and there are a lot of options out there.
Yeah, awesome. That's really insightful stuff, Priyanka. If we don't have any more questions, it doesn't look like it. But yeah, I just want to thank you, Priyanka, for joining us today. It's been really awesome to hear all of your tips and watch you cook. The food really looks good. And thank you everyone else for joining us. We hope this webinar was helpful and enjoyable for you and really opened your eyes as to how easy Jain cooking can be and fun to do. If you have any questions for us or Priyanka, you can feel free to send us an email at education@yj.org, and we'll definitely get back to you. And we'll also be posting all of these tips, information, recipes, and tons of more pictures are coming, on our website and on our social media. So just keep a lookout for that. And with that, say goodbye and have a great weekend, everybody.
All right. Thanks.